ABBA, let's do this.
No, the man say, the girl say what? Which, let's go ABBA. Well,
Yeah.
I am preach then, Chucks.
No,
I have
she's
no-
ABBA, I'm Preach. ABBA. Preach is the one who used to have a rasta. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of For the Most Part podcast.
Hey.
So, today's episode, we going to be talking about the practicality of perfect pitch.
Oh,
we have some talking points on it.
But where's perfect pitch though?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
let's tell the
there's-
people where it is.
There are several definitions. So basically, there's variations of perfect pitch. Now, some people may not call it perfect pitch. Some people call it relative pitch. We'll get down to the science of it. So, online basically has two versions of pitch: active and passive. Right? With active pitch, that's like kind of like a perfect pitch. You're able to like identify a musical note, played on any instrument, even the musical notes that come from objects like a kitchen appliance, like the fridge in my kitchen used to beep a weird F sharp.
Right.
Right. A car horn, doorbell, ding dong. You could tell a key signature of any piece of music. You can sing a note without reference. Dum. You're able to name multiple notes played simultaneously. Now
As in
stick
chords.
I will stick a pin in that because I have seen online that that's not necessarily true for all people with perfect pitch, but I digress. Passive is considered to be what they call relative pitch. It's an ability to basically like sing or name notes as long as you have a point of reference. So if I do that's E and you sing Mary,
C.
right? That is how relative pitch works. You have a point of reference. Right? So for example, if someone plays C on a piano, a person with relative pitch can name any of the other notes surrounding that, and they could sing C, D, E, F, G, right?
Can you build relative pitch or this
Yes,
passive?
yes, of course.
Right.
That's what you call oral training. Duh.
Yes.
That's what oral training is for.
That
It
is
is
what it is.
about strengthening your relative pitch and or perfect pitch as well.
Nice.
Good.
Nice.
So there are benefits both to having active and passive pitch. It aids with tuning instruments like strings, winds, timpani. Beneficial to instrument builders and who maintain them. So basically, like if you're a luthier, you have to know the intervals to which and the structure as to
Yes.
how the notes will resonate, the strings, the blah 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 blah.
Yes.
In some cases, perfect pitch is an asset to some music educators, directors, or orchestral directors, blah 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 blah. Right. So now, as I said before, Adam Neely. Now, we mentioned a lot of Adam Neely because he kind of goes against the grain with a lot of his videos.
Actually, you know what got me into Adam Neely? I am like a quarter way through his video about music theory.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Yeah,
that
yeah,
video?
no, because he's very very versed in the music theory. He's a music theorist,
Yes.
right? So he breaks down 4 types of perfect pitch.
Perfect pitch. Mhm.
So there's absolute perfect pitch, there's relative pitch, quasi-absolute pitch, and relative pitch.
With reference.
With reference, right? The quasi-absolute pitch is what I think is most common to a lot of string players, pianists in particular, and maybe to some extent violinists, from what I gather. And it's really because your instrument is always gonna have to be in tuned till you have to manually tune your instrument.
Yes, you do.
So dun 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 boom, boom. That's the notes on the guitar. Pianists would have reference because they kind of just know how some of their scales and how the tone and the timbre of the instrument sounds. So they automatically kind of know, okay, I know what interval that is. Is that a beta, F, or tritone, or whatever the case may be, right? Relative pitch with reference, as we said before, you have a point of reference if it's C, D, E, F, G, whatever the case may be, right? And there's a version of relative pitch, which is basically you don't have a reference with the relative pitch, right? Good. So some studies have found that the brains of people with these enhanced audio skills have their auditory cortex is much larger than
that part of the brain that processes
is the
sound.
audio. Yes, which is interesting to me. Now, so a couple of questions I've seen here: how is perfect pitch assessed?
Yeah.
Statistics: 1 in 10,000 people have perfect pitch, and if it's not practiced, it cannot be developed. That is actually true. Music creation. Now, these are the topics that the questions that we have. Now, I just wanna, before we get into these questions, I'm going to name drop for you how many people I know offhand with perfect pitch. Natasha Joseph, Kai Alcantara, Stephanie Young, Lauren Williams, David Yundy from Steve Silver Stars, Atiba Williams, Kern Somerville, Martina Marfon, Urquhart, Darnell Thomas, Booksy Sharp. The Dr. Len Booksy Sharp. Right? Now, what does this have to do with the 1 in 10,000? I think that there are a lot of more people becoming more coming into the music and the creative realm with perfect pitch. And or their ears are now kind of, there's something in their brains that are now clicking.
Or maybe they just always had it and they never had an opportunity to realize that it existed until they stepped into that arena.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. So let's talk some of these questions. So, do we think that having perfect pitch affects your ability to be openly creative? Meaning, you know how all these notes sound, you know that some notes just sound really disgusting together and some just don't. How does that affect your ability? Do you think that it affects someone's ability to be openly creative?
Well, I think that depends on how you use your perfect pitch in the creative process.
Okay.
If I would say if you lean on it too heavily, meaning
you stick to the rules.
Well, so the way I interpreted this question, I was actually thinking in terms of maybe you're composing, maybe you're arranging.
Yeah.
And that you're using like your sense of perfect pitch in your head to be creative versus using whatever sounds or instruments are in front of you and making sounds on your instruments and relying more on those sounds that you make rather than what's already in your head.
Okay.
So I would say if you have perfect pitch and you're looking at it in the sense of you're relying on what's up here, then I would say that yes, it does kind of affect your creativity.
Does it meaning limit it or expand it?
It may limit it a little bit.
Okay.
Because you're only in your head.
Okay. I can kind of agree. Because in my mind, how I've always seen perfect pitch is like the rules to classical music 4-part harmony. And there are some set of rules that you have to follow.
Yes.
And
I'm having flashbacks.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to.
It's fine.
But my point is I think that because you already know how things sound together, you might avoid how those things might sound together altogether.
And I think that I think that kind of stems to creativity.
Right.
Dismissing it completely without hearing it from an external source.
Yeah.
At least test it. Yes, your mind knows how it's gonna sound, but test it externally. Now you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Or even if you possess that perfect pitch, you may not realize. What if I voice this chord a little different, and suddenly it doesn't sound so bad? So that's why I say perhaps it can limit creativity to an extent.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
How useful you feel it is having this gift? To some people, it's considered a gift. Where mixing and mastering is concerned. Now, I could probably lean you more in the mixing area because you would probably have more understanding where that is concerned. That deals with how well things sound together.
Right.
There are some people who I know offhand who have perfect pitch that can tell me, dude, them two frequencies there, that C and that G sharp, no. Take down this, adjust this, and problem solved.
But that's just the thing. Perfect pitch is not the be all and end all of mixing and mastering. And as I'm sure it's helpful. I'm sure it's helpful, but you don't need perfect pitch, I think, to realize, all right, this is trash.
Okay.
But
okay.
I say that as a person who has limited knowledge of mixing and mastering.
Okay, I understand that. I understand that. Now, in terms of arrangers, we have all these different people. Pan arrangers, for example. How do you think this affects them? I mean, we already have one. We have two people in the list: Natasha and Boogsy.
But here's the thing. The thing. For the two of them, I don't think that their perfect pitch is what makes them as amazing as they are.
Oh,
I say that because if you sit down and talk to either of these individuals about music theory, about oral
vocabulary
skills, AURAL. So what I'm saying is, yeah, perfect pitch is lovely, but they have taken the time to develop their oral skills, AURAL. So it can't just be about relying on your ability to recreate pitches that are accurate. It also has to be about the knowledge that you have to put together everything.
Right. And that was funny enough. I had a conversation with Steph. He's one on our tech guru this morning, and he was like, for me, when I use my perfect pitch, it's more so about refreshing his mental library of like chord progressions and notes and intervals that he can use to be creative. It's not, it's a playing card where I could say, well, I could tell you the key of this piece is E. Okay, after that, then what?
Yes.
Yes.
So and for Miss Joseph and Mr. Sharp, it goes far beyond just being able to say, yes, this is an E major.
Yeah. For both of them, they could tell you what the inversion, the chord is.
Yes.
Now, back to, I wanted to make note of one thing.
Hold on, that inversion thing is not reliant on perfect pitch. You don't need perfect pitch to be able to identify if a chord is in root position.
Oh no. I wasn't going to debate that. What I was going to say is that there has been some debate as to whether people with perfect pitch are supposed to be able, without problem, identify which inversion chords are in. And I've seen on like several different videos of people saying, they can tell you the name of the note, the type of chord, the chord quality, ting, but they can't tell you what inversion it is in.
So I'd like to attempt to address that.
Sure.
So if you learn how to play an instrument and you do like some sort of daily exercises like scales, that kind of stuff. So the first instrument I learned formally was the piano, and I went to a piano teacher. One of the first things you learn to do, in fact, one of the first things you learn to do is obviously play a major scale. If you're looking
find all the C's on the keyboard.
But something else I had to learn to do was something called broken chords.
Yes.
Now, if you play piano, I'm sure you'll probably know this, right? A broken chord with the ABRSM syllabus, by the way, is you play a chord. First, you play it in its original inversion. First, third, fifth. Third, fifth, first. Fifth, first, third.
Yeah.
Now, because I spent years and years and years learning broken chords, I have no choice but to be able to know what inversion a chord is in. The only thing is, I might need to hear the chord a few times, go in a corner, play it, and then I could tell you, yes.
It's in this inversion.
Yes. Sometimes it comes faster than that. What I'm saying is, I don't have perfect pitch, but I can identify things like that.
Now, I have seen where, again, some people cannot, and it could just be a simple thing of their brains are very unique. Some people can't.
Or maybe the training was just never there.
No, like for example with me, my training was obviously there because look, I'm still doing music today. However, I think for me, and I was explaining this to Stefan this morning, my brain is not focused on, like, if you were to give me a line in pan where I have to learn this, I could tell you the notes, but I'm not focusing on the note names right now. I'm focused on the line, the pitching of
themselves.
the actual pitches of the notes. Me and studying the actual note names. So
And
that's
perfect pitch is actually not the ability to name them, is it?
no.
It's the ability to hear them, process them. Naming them, on the other hand,
It's a whole different.
that's a
world.
different skill.
Yeah. Yeah, because there are some people who probably have perfect pitch and they just don't know.
Yeah.
They probably, as you said, they probably never had the training to identify these particular pitches and that kind of thing.
And to really have a context in which to use that perfect pitch.
Yep.
Because you could have you can have the most amazing sense of pitch, but if you don't use it, what's the point?
And I mean, another thing that can be of interest is people with special needs who have perfect pitch, and
I saw so much of that, Kemi. In all of my
people
teaching
who
experiences.
may, and I don't want to say like it's visual impairment, and visual impairment is a broad spectrum of
Yes,
impairments, and
it
I'm just saying,
is. It is. It's not.
there's blindness, there's partial blindness, fully
Yes.
blind, blah 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 blah, and so you go. But my point is, their skills they may be different to somebody else who may have no impairments at all.
And remember, if you've never been visually impaired, your body doesn't have to rely on, compensating in other ways.
True. True.
It's because let's say you've been visually impaired your whole life.
Yeah.
Obviously, your body is going to, heightened sense of hearing. Some of your other senses may be very, a bit more in tuned
Yeah.
than a person who has all five senses. Yeah.
So what would be really interesting to see is to come now again, maybe comparing people's perfect pitches might be a bad thing, but it might give us some insight as to
Comparing them how?
in terms of how they use it and where their strengths and their weaknesses lie. Because
Right.
I'm 100% certain no two people with perfect pitch utilize it the same way, and there's some strengths and some weaknesses that will always be different for each person.
Yes, I agree.
Right? So now, having said that, do we think that perfect pitch is becoming saturated? How many people do we know with perfect pitch? As we said, we
Hold on.
listed.
I think the real question to ask is
Do people with perfect pitch
why-
actually have perfect pitch?
I think the question we really want to ask is how many people who say they have perfect pitch actually have it. And as we said before, statistically, it's about 1 in 10,000 people.
Right. Now, here's the thing. We've just name dropped about 10 people there in this list.
Yes.
That's not 1 in 10,000.
That's 5 in
Co-
10.
That's 5. No, not even. No. Within this musical sphere right now,
Right.
that's 10 in 100 or 10 in 50 if so much.
So, remember, the question I want to ask is how do you properly assess if someone has perfect pitch? How or
No,
or
and
how
that's-
are
that's-
you able
and
to
that's the
tell?
other thing, and that's
How are
the
you
other thing.
able to tell that it is absolutely perfect?
Yeah. I don't think, no, and I've heard the argument that perfect pitch is the same for each person. I disagree with that 100%.
I'm tempted to disagree with it as well, because I'm sure as musicians we can both agree that even if two musicians have similar training, similar background, they're in the same band, I think all musicians hear music a little differently.
That's very possible. That's very
There
possible.
may be similarities,
Yeah,
there may be similarities,
yeah,
but we probably do not process it
the same way.
identically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I think my answer, I lean towards a no. That's why I lean towards a no.
So you don't
As
think it's
well.
becoming saturated?
My thing is that people can say anything they want about themselves.
I mean, it's a cool playing card.
And yes. No, I agree. No, I agree that there are some people who do have perfect pitch and they are sickening in a nice way.
Natasha, we be looking at you, girl.
But I also think if a person has what I would consider to be an advanced sense of pitch accuracy.
Mm.
That is very different
Now, okay, go ahead.
from
go ahead.
having perfect pitch.
Now, I just actually thought of something, right? Remember we were saying before that there are instances of people who have perfect pitch and don't know. I'm wondering if having a lack of music theory background affects their ability to name notes and name chords.
Well, I would say
I'm
yes,
guessing that they can name the notes in the chord, but they probably can't tell you this is a A minor 7 flat 5, for example.
right, and that's another thing, and that's another thing, and that's another thing. You can have perfect pitch, but can you really put into words what is going on in your mind? Remember, when we think about perfect pitch, we need to think about hearing sounds and not necessarily identifying the sounds or accurately labeling the sounds.
Right. So you mean then it is possible to have perfect pitch and you can identify sounds, but meaning identify it orally.
Yes.
But
and reproduce it very well.
Right. But what if somebody has perfect pitch who can identify it orally but can't reproduce it very well? Now, I don't know. I mean, I'm possibly like a case like that. Maybe because I can't tell you all the notes at all times. There are some cluster chords that just don't make sense to listen to.
No, that makes sense. And that makes sense. And that does make sense. There are some things that do make sense.
Yeah.
Make sense to listen to. But I think it all depends on what you're using it for. So, for example, if it is, even if it is, you can't name what's going on. If you can, if your perfect pitch helps you identify that something's wrong, something's right, go through. But to say that you have to be able to name every single thing, oh no, you played an A when it was supposed to be a G sharp.
Right.
I think in the grand scheme of things, that skill is only necessary if it becomes necessary. If you understand what I mean. So if someone's playing a wrong note, you have to be able to tell them
you're playing a wrong note.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming, like, for example, if it's your own music, you'd be able to say that chord doesn't quite sound right.
Right. But it's your own music, so of course you would know.
Yeah.
But do you need a sense of perfect pitch to be able to make those kind of decisions?
Maybe not. Generally, no, because most musicians, anyways, can tell when an arrangement is not sounding too right or chords sound wrong. That's generally just very good oral training.
Yes.
Now, on the topic of that, do people without perfect pitch have some advantage in the grand scheme of things?
It depends.
On? Yeah, that's what I thought.
All right. Here's an anecdote.
Okay.
I was a timpanist at some points in my life, right?
In the past life.
Yeah, COVID. Anyway, it's helpful to be able to hear an accurate pitch in your mind before you tune your instruments. It's really helpful, especially if, one, you're pressed for time, two, you leave your tune, you leave your tune at home or something.
Yeah.
It's advantageous. It really is advantageous. To say that people without perfect pitch have some advantage, I'm not sure. What I will say though is this. If I had to choose between asking someone for advice who has the training, the skills, the experience, and no perfect pitch versus someone with less training, less skills, and an amazing sense of pitch, I'm going by my better trained person first. Don't feel that because you have perfect pitch that
they're coming straight by you.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that is what everybody should do. I'm saying that's what I would do, and a trained professional, if they know to themselves what their limitations are pitch wise, right, they should be big enough to be able to tell you know what, let's go and grab another person to give a second opinion, second pair of ears,
Right.
You know?
Now okay. So I'm assuming you'd want to have perfect pitch. But do you think it'll add to your music playing ability? What do you think,
can only
Mackenzie?
say
You would want to have
Would you want
perfect pitch?
Mm. I would want it only because it would help me tune instruments faster. That for me, that is what I would be after in terms of perfect pitch. I'm not sure that the really interesting, intricate stuff that people can do with perfect pitch. I'm not sure if that would be me. I just want to be able to be like, all right, if it is, I need to tune to a particular note, and frequency is also a thing too.
Yeah. Oh. Ooh.
If it is, I had perfect pitch and I was able to find, the correct note so I could tune quickly, fine. Right? Because when you're in an orchestra and you leave your tuner home,
You need to get a bong.
yeah. So that is what I would want. But to say that I would want to use my perfect pitch to have like grand scholarly discussions about music, that is not what I would use my perfect pitch for.
Yeah.
No. I see perfect pitch as practically, it's an excellent gift to have, but only if you use it in practical settings. Only if you use it in practical settings. So Kemi, you play guitar.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Hold on, Mackenzie, like he gonna say something.
Okay.
Yeah, blessings. Well, one of the reasons why I would like to have perfect pitch as a skill is because I could already play multiple instruments
right.
at a reasonably high level.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like because perfect pitch is like a memory thing,
Yes.
it's like something with your brain. Like it'll just help. So it's not just notes. Like people with perfect pitch could remember really, really long sequences of music.
Yes.
You know, so it's a memory thing as well. So that's definitely a benefit.
It is. That is true.
Also, I think people that say Duvon have perfect pitch. I'm not sure.
I don't know. We go
don't
ask him.
know.
We go ask him.
We
go ask him. But I agree with you in the sense that having perfect pitch can add in terms of. But again, some people have short-term memory and some people have long-term memory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Also, I don't know if you all knew Dave Maslin. He used to play piano. Mano Maslin's son, I think. Dave would teach us to like try to read ahead. So in his courses, he would be really pushing to try to read like 8 bars, 10 bars, 12 bars ahead.
Yes.
And once again, when you have that type of memory from practicing, like, well, you don't really need perfect pitch. Like, it's really just practice now.
Yeah.
So I think it really just comes down to your work ethic.
Yes.
Is what will dictate where you are as as a musician.
Because if you spend time developing your sense of pitch, it can get better.
yeah.
But you need to put in the time. It needs to be.
And the trippy part about all of this is that perfect pitch will never last.
No,
It will dissipate, and I know of some people.
Yes.
And maybe with me, my sense of pitch has wavered because I don't use it. What I using it for, and
Yes.
why? 2 years has gone. I ain't use it to pick out a little 2 notes. This and no.
As with any skill.
Yeah.
As with any skill.
No. But with perfect pitch, it's different because, from what I understand, okay. So the definition or the example that Adam Neely gave is like what the color red looks like.
Yes.
But at some point, that you swear that red gonna look the same way, but it looks more pink. But you're sure that it's red.
It's red. Whereas someone younger than you with better eyes would be able to say, no, that's not red, that's pink.
Maybe.
And it's synesthesia or something.
Synesthesia.
Yeah, so it's something like perfect pitch.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's something like perfect pitch.
So does age affect perfect pitch?
I don't know. I think so from the research that I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, you do lose it. I think men lose hearing. That's why we had now. Men tend to lose hearing faster than women as we get older. So definitely if you're losing hearing, you would lose that
some sense of
ability.
But
pitch,
isn't pitch internal? Isn't it an internal?
No, it's your body. Remember, nothing's really internal or external. Everything connected.
Yeah,
it's
that's
vibration
true. That's
and
true.
air, and it's how your brain process that information.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
True,
I can
true,
see
true,
that.
true,
I can see that. I
true,
can see that. I can see that.
True.
Yeah. So, yes, I could see pitch. Well, again, pitch will waver later on, ladies and gentlemen. Just let y'all know. You're gonna that sense of pitch. Let's say, for example, if you know what the note C sounds like now and you have perfect pitch, that's gonna drop to a B flat at some point. You might be able to still understand and pull out the intervals, but it'll probably be more relative than it will be perfect.
I think one of our lecturers,
Who's that?
one of our former lecturers, Dr. Osborne.
Perfect pitch.
But I think she told us during a class once that some people, they know they have perfect pitch, but they're also aware that they hear everything a semitone lower than it's supposed to be. Ah, okay.
I already know. It's a again, as Mackenzie and you say, if you don't train, it's most likely Doctor. It's most likely Doctor. It's probably Dr. Osborne. But I think I'm interested. How many of you all have perfect pitch that has watched this podcast?
I feel I know who go and comment and say yes.
You know what's even more scary?
What's that?
Like, imagine you live in a space where you never learned music. You never experienced equal tempered pitch, and you have no idea that you have perfect pitch.
Yep.
Imagine that.
Yes. Yep. That's the next thing too. I thought of that. That is trippy.
It is. And the thing is, you yourself wouldn't know.
Yeah. But all you would know is that you're figuring out stuff pretty easily, but you don't know why.
Yes.
And I'm sure we have a lot more music people in the sphere, in the music circle, in the music community that probably have it and don't know, and they just were never sure.
I would just like to say though that as perfect pitch is a lovely talent, but talent, natural, innate talent, needs to be combined with outward effort, outward work, putting in the time into not just your sense of perfect pitch, but everything else.
Wow.
Everything else.
What a way to end this podcast.
Yes.
So, ladies and gents, as we said, drop a comment if you have perfect pitch. If you think you do.
If you think you do.
If you know anyone with perfect pitch, the way to look out for it, they're able to basically identify notes pretty quickly, the ability to probably learn passages, really, really, really long passages of music pretty quickly and remember it. They could tell you what inversion chords are in, you know. So, like, share, comment, subscribe.
Yes, like, share, comment, subscribe.
And we will see you all. And we will hear you all on the next one. Peace out. If somebody could tell me what key the song in.
Da, da, da. Da, 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 da.
No.